So it made me wonder, and I want to ask you that. I was like, I think deep down inside, my mom looks at, I'm gonna say us as parents and think like, what are they doing? And I wanted to ask you culturally, when you think of like your mom and your aunts and all the elder females in your family, do you think they look at, you or other millennial parents in their family like, what are y'all doing?
Welcome to the NOIRPOISED podcast, where wisdom is power is more than just a motto.
It's our way of life. A few weeks ago, I realized something. I think my parents, specifically my mom, I think she thinks, I'm a good son, I'm a good husband, I'm a good brother. I was sitting on a table with her and a few other people, people her age, and they started openly criticizing, millennial parents.
Oh boy.
Saying like, yeah, they don't do that now. Like, listen, we did it, but they don't do that now for some reason. Like, they were just criticizing a whole bunch of stuff that, we were doing. And I wasn't the only parent on the table.
That's hilarious, the nerve of them.
Right. So it made me wonder, and I want to ask you that. I was like, I think deep down inside, my mom looks at, I'm going to say us as parents and think like, what are they doing? And I wanted to ask you culturally, when you think of like your mom and your aunts and all the elder females in your family, do you think they look at, you or other millennial parents in their family like, what are y'all doing? No?
I think with specific things, yes, but on a general scale, no. Only because I've had conversations with my mom present with aunts, and I've had an aunt say like, I didn't know any better then. If I could do it again, I would do it differently or do it the way that we're doing it now.
Yeah.
So that tells me that like they weren't aware of what they were doing. I mean, but most of us aren't aware of what we're doing until years pass and your kid's like, yeah, this is what it did to me.
Yeah.
So I don't think they look at us that way, but I know with specific things, they're like, what are you doing?
Right.
And we're Haitian, so Haitians feed babies way before 6 months, for those who don't know.
Feed real food, you mean, yeah.
Yes, feed babies real food. Yes, thank you for clarifying that. So Haitians feed babies real food way before 6 months. So here in America, you give the baby milk. Milk up until 6 months. Normally, you don't give water or you don't give solids until the baby is capable of, showing signs of being able to sit up or maybe have new teeth. If it comes a little bit sooner, that's fine. But on average, they tell you milk for 6 months.
Yeah.
Haitians do not understand that.
Yeah, that's
they
actually
literally think you're making the kid suffer.
That's actually one of the things that they mentioned. This wasn't my mom, but the other Haitian mom that was there. When the topic of giving water to kids, we had that debate with her when we had our first child. So I thought she was past that. But on the table, I realized that she just let it go, but she still didn't get it. The other mom made a comment saying, wow, I didn't know you weren't supposed to, they don't give kids like water. She said, when the kids were babies, they would have their milk or their formula and right after I give them water.
I actually remember that because in the 90s, they did the same thing. Like I remember having little cousins and I remember feeding little cousins, giving little cousins a water bottle afterwards. Yeah.
And do you think that some of the cultural expectations that they have of you as a parent now kind of forces you to do things or makes you uncomfortable doing what you want to do? Like, does it ever seep into your parenting?
I wouldn't say it seeps in, but it's always annoying when I'm in their presence. Because like I'll be around like aunts and they'll be like, I didn't see the baby have any water since I've been here. And I look at them like, oh, here we go. Gotta have this conversation again with a different family member. So it's more so like an irritation where it's just like, I can't believe I have to keep having this conversation about how I'm choosing to do things. More so that, not necessarily I'm changing my parenting, because it's not like I'm going to do what they want.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different suggestions that they give me. I always ask why, so I understand the reasoning behind it. And if it's a situation where it's like, no one knows why, there's bad effects that could occur, and you're just doing it because it's tradition or you're used to doing it, then I'm not going to take your advice.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it does that, no.
I had a moment with our first child a couple weeks ago where I didn't realize it until afterwards that I let my parents' parenting kind of, dictate my actions. And I apologized to her after that. My mom, she was very, well, like all Haitian parents, they become very soft and gentle when they get older.
The grandparents.
Yeah. But she was tough, with us. As kids, like she didn't tolerate disrespect, obviously, but we couldn't talk back. We couldn't even turn our heads a certain way.
You can't ask why.
If you're angry and you're upset, you better float in the air.
Literally.
Don't slam no
doors.
Float
to a different room, tiptoe.
Don't breathe. Don't sigh heavily. None of that.
Yep.
So now that we have our own kids, I always wanted them to have the environment where if they're feeling something, even if there's frustration with me, I want them to be able to express it. But there was a moment where
in a respectful
way, and there was a moment when our first child, going through all the motions, she said something or she did something, and normally, honestly, I would just try to walk her through that. But I heard my mom's voice in my head. Really? And, for a split second, I had a scenario play out in my head where she was doing that in front of my mom. And my mom was looking at me, and all these things came through my mind where even way before I had kids, my mom would tell me stuff like, when you have kids, you have to send them to me to correct them, or to make sure that they're set straight. So at that moment, I guess all those things came to mind, and I responded to her in a very stern way. And it's not that I was necessarily wrong for doing that, but I knew in my heart that's not how I wanted to. And I could tell even by the way she's looking at me, she's like, whoa, calm down, buddy. So I went to her later and I apologized and I explained why, I was frustrated and everything. But I never thought of myself as someone who could be influenced that way. But it showed me that although, we have our own way of doing things, the modern way, the millennial way, it's still very easy to have those cultural expectations
to revert back
to your parents. Seep through your parents.
I agree. I think it's very easy for that to happen because it's all you know.
Yeah.
It's what happened to you, so naturally you're going to do what's considered normal to you. So even though you know in your mind that you don't want to do that with your children, internally your automatic reaction is to react the way others reacted to you. I actually seen a couple of things online discussing like the internal conflict that occurs when you're trying to parent a child differently from how you were parented. Because naturally, if you were yelled at for whining, you're gonna more likely be irritated by a whining child.
You would think it's the opposite.
You would think it's the opposite. But I saw something that said something to the extent of whatever it is that wasn't tolerated from you when you were a child, it's going to be a high irritance for you when you're dealing with a child who's doing it. And I actually found that, like, for me, Haitian, you cried, they tease you. They're like, what are you crying for? So now I realize anything like screaming, crying, whining, or repeating things over and over gets me highly annoyed. It could be like the smallest thing, but it irritates me. And after I read that, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's what it is. Because when I was coming up, that was not tolerated. It was just like, you keep crying, keep screaming, I'm going to give you a reason to cry more, So I think that's what it is. Like, you just naturally revert to what's considered normal to you, subconsciously.
It's crazy that you're saying that because I was playing with our daughter outside a couple of days ago. And she was trying to pull her bike somewhere. Or she was trying to do something with her bike. Her bike wasn't listening. Her voice changed. She put on her deep voice and she told the bike, if you don't listen, I'm going to leave you right here by yourself.
Oh my God.
I know. And when she said that, I'm like, that's kind of mean to the bike. But obviously she's getting that from me because I tell her that, like, if you don't want to listen, I'm just going to leave you here. Not anywhere out in public, of course. Yeah. But like in a room or whatever.
I'm going to walk away from the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it's crazy to watch her do that.
Yeah, she literally imitates everything we do.
Right. And it coincides with exactly what you just said, where we're literally imitating, unless we make a conscious effort not to, we're literally imitating the way we were raised in some way, shape, or form. I still thinking about like my mom's reaction on the table and just the things that she was saying. I saw a survey, I think it said that 74% of millennial parents think they're doing a better job than their parents, which I think it should be that way. Like every generation should get better. But I couldn't help but wonder and think, do I feel like I'm doing better because I feel like I'm getting a second chance as far as
I see what you're saying, like a do-over.
Right, a do-over. So a do-over for myself. Or am I doing better because I'm breaking away from those cultural pressures or norms that I deem not to be good?
That's interesting because, you know, it's funny. In my opinion, I feel like none of those means that you're doing better.
Mm-hmm.
I think doing better is being aware of who you're raising and doing things according to their character and personality. Because we can do everything completely different from how our parents did or how we thought was wrong. And turns out we're doing it completely wrong. They could need what we had, who knows? So I think it's being present in the moment. I think that's good parenting, in my opinion. That's always what I try to tell myself and try to catch myself at the end of the day. Like I like analyze everything that happened during the day, and I'm like, where could I have done better?
Right.
And it always boils down to that, because I could think that not tolerating a certain behavior is doing something good for her, and it's actually doing more detrimental things than good things. So I feel like it's being aware and present of the situation in the moment with that specific child, because even how we do things with our first child, we can't always do it exactly the same with the second child, because they have different personalities and characteristics. So I think that's good parenting, is knowing your kid enough to know exactly how to discipline them and guide them and lead them versus this is what I'm implementing, that's it, period. Because it may not work, you know, it may actually hurt them in a terrible way.
Would you say that there's anything culturally that, you know, you were raised that you would definitely want to bring, that you definitely brought into parenthood?
For sure. Like respect is a big deal with Haitians. I think even any Black culture, like respect in general. You go to the supermarkets and you see parents and their children, and the children are like dropping themselves on the floor or talking back and yelling, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Never in my household. But things like that, absolutely. Like when it comes to that, I'm fully Haitian. Like that doesn't mean I'm gonna whoop your ass with a belt or a pan or whatever I find. But
damn, a pan, that's crazy.
Whatever they find. But I'm not going to tolerate it, if that makes sense. Like, you're going to know that you have to respect people in order to get respect.
Right.
So that, I think I'm carrying 100%. Like there's a tone of voice that she's allowed to use and not allowed to use.
Yeah.
So there's times where like she tries to like get a little, you know, sassy, and I got to put her in her place. And I'm like, wait. I'm the mother, like, relax. So I caught myself several times. There was one night she was going to bed. I don't think you was in the room that day. Or maybe you were, I'll say it and you let me know. But she was going to bed, and it was one of those nights where she was like constantly moving. Like she was not staying in place to fall asleep. She just kept moving around on the bed. So obviously she wasn't going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then I was holding the baby, and the baby had fallen asleep, but I'm like waiting before putting the baby down. And she's moving so much that I'm like, oh, if she wakes up this baby, yo. So I turned around to her after telling her like 1,000,000 times, stay down, relax, you know, think of positive thoughts, relax, close your eyes, and you'll fall asleep. After saying that like a good 5 times, I turned around and I was like, get in the bed, lay down, and don't move. And she looked at me like she was shocked. And then she looked at me and she went... After the situation, I died inside, because I know she's imitating me, like with the finger, because sometimes like when I don't want to say something, I literally look at her like, and she knows what's up. So when she did that, my automatic reaction was to become a Haitian mother. I said, you put that finger down. Put that finger down. I literally was like, don't put your finger at me. I'm your mother. Put your finger down. Yeah. But in my mind, I'm like, of course she's putting her finger up. That's what you do to her. Yeah, like she's going to do that. But it's little things like that I feel like it always comes out where I can, you know, act a little bit like our parents.
That's one of my biggest, I don't want to use the word fears, but so I don't speak over my life, but that's one of the things that I'm always trying to be mindful and conscious of is I never want to be a hypocrite. Like even sometimes like we tell her if she has our phone for whatever reason, don't hold the phone. If you want to look at a video, you know, put it down on the table or something. But I feel bad saying that
because we don't do it.
Because I hold my phone. I need to hold my phone. So I'm always worried about exactly like being a hypocrite. And with the example that you just gave, an example that I gave out when she was outside yelling at her bike, I struggled to know what to say to her. Because of that, like the cultural in me tells me to tell her, you know, I'm the adult. I can do it, but you can't. But I remember thinking 2 things to myself when Daisy said it to me is, that's not fair. You're being a hypocrite, which could be why I don't like I can't stand that. And two, all right, I'm a very patient person. When
my time comes.
when my time comes, when my time comes,
You can't tell me nothing.
You can't tell me anything. I'm just gonna sit here, learn. I'm gonna let you wag your finger, but when it's my turn to wag my finger, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
and you're not gonna have anything to say. And those things I'm always concerned about because I never want her to grow up the same way.
Yeah, and that's the importance of being what you want to see in them. It all boils, as hard as it is. And I like that you tell her, like, you know, we don't want to be on our phones all the time. Like, we're on our phones for work purposes or because, like, you know, someone's contacting us. I like that you say that. But at the end of the day, it boils down to try not to be on my phone when I don't absolutely need to be on my phone. Like, if we don't want her to be that kind of kid who wants the phone so bad, then we have to make more of an effort to not have it out in the open all the time. So I think it boils down to action. You just have to be what you want to see in them, even when it comes to like little cultural stuff that you were mentioning. Like, there's a lot of things, like you said, you're patient. Same. There's a lot of things now my mom would be like, why are you doing? I'm like, I'm an adult. I do what I want.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why am I doing that? Because I want to.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to always remember that, like, she's gonna get older. Like, the kids are gonna grow up and they're gonna become their own person. So if we want them to make the right choices, then we have to consciously make the right choices on a regular basis so they can see that and follow that instead.
Yeah.
You know.
Being that you dealt with this more than I did, how did you
dealt with what?
As far as dealing with cultural pressures from your family,
gotcha.
like, you should do this. Yeah. You're the mother. You're the one that, especially, you know, with food, you know, cooking for them, you know, give sauce at like
au moi.
Yes.
1 month. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these things. I want to know, how did you deal with that without affecting relationships? Because I don't remember the exact numbers, but I saw something about how a lot of times parents have big disagreements with either their parents or their grandparents because the grandparents and parents think they should be doing something and they don't feel that way. I could even recall one story I heard. I think this was from a Hispanic couple where she said she grew up very religious. She didn't like it. So she always said that when she had kids, she's not going to force them into religion. And her mother was Catholic. And when it came time for her kids were of communion ages, she told her mother that I don't want to make them do it even in their infancy. I'm going to wait until they get older. And if they want to do it, that's on them. The mother couldn't understand it. The mother contacted the siblings. Siblings said, you know what? Just do it for mom. Like, just do it. Just keep the peace. But she felt so strongly about it. She didn't want to do it. And on her side, she felt that by not doing it, you were kind of damning the kids to, you know, to a terrible life kind of thing. But the mother felt so strongly about this that she told her daughter, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. That's crazy. That's how strong she felt. And part of me probably thinks that she was using it as a threat, like to show how serious she is. But the daughter didn't budge because she felt so strongly about it. I mean, that's an extreme case, but I wanted to know, like, in your opinion, how should people deal with even those type of cultural pressures? Being that we grew up in the church and everything, my mom, once in a while, she'll throw some kind of shade at me that we're not like actively going to church every Sunday. And I tend to ignore it, or sometimes I might make a comment like, we have, you know, we watch something on YouTube, you know, she's informed about this and that. I'm not saying, of course, like we talked about, we'll never do it, but it's not something that the whole 3 L's, l'école, l'église, is not something that we are going to force like they did. But yeah, all that to say, how do you think people should handle that, since you were in some kind of similar situation?
Be true to you. I know it's cliche, but at least for me, I'm like that young lady, where if it's a valid reason though, I feel like I would always choose my intuition and discernment before doing what's pleasing to them. It may be difficult, but I think that's always best if it's for a valid reason, especially something as serious as spirituality and religion. I don't think that's something you should be doing according to how others see fit for your family and your household. I think that conversation is between you and your husband, and you then make the decision on how you want to raise your family unit. So that to me is always going to be true to what you feel is right between you, your family, and God. But on a general aspect, kind of the same situation. I think I want to say you kind of know when it's worth the fight and when it's not. But at the same time, what I'm I've learned, or I'm learning, is that sometimes when you cave in on the minor things, they expect you to cave in on the larger things, and it becomes a bigger battle. So if you continue to stay true to who you are and you're consistent in your decisions, you know what I mean, then the larger fights actually won't be as large because they know what it is. That's what I'm learning now, is like, if I don't feel comfortable with this, I'm not doing it. Or if I want to vocalize this, I will vocalize it versus ignoring it or trying to act like it doesn't exist. But I've also learned the importance of explaining the why, not just saying, no, we're not doing this, or no, we're doing this, but we're doing this because, we're not doing this because this is where I stand. And one thing that I think sets, because at the end of the day with the Haitians, as long as you're in tune with God, they really don't bother you that much. They're annoying, don't get me wrong, but they won't bother you that much. It would have been different if I was a person that was like, yeah, I don't believe in God and da-da-da-da. Like, they know that's not what it is. I'm actually I feel like I'm more in tune with God now than I was when I was active in ministry and in choir and stuff like that. So I think because they see how we operate in everything, they're fully aware that God is involved. Do you get what I'm saying? At least from my side, that's what it is. Because that's the logic to my I have an aunt who, like, she's consistent. She's like, which
means,
which translates to bring your kids to church, go to church, go to church, go to church. With someone like her, I can't have the conversation because the age barrier. There's some people where, like, an explanation is the right move, and there's some people where it's just like, it's not worth the fight. But someone like my mom, for example, she's fully aware of where I stand. She knows what it is. Like, you're not coming between me and God. No one and nothing will come between me and God willing. So because we don't make certain decisions, or we do make certain decisions, she respects it because of that. So I think it's making the important people, the people who are important to you, know the whys. That helps to kind of like alleviate the constant, like, you know, comments or whatever. So in your case, I'm sure your mom is aware of where you stand to some extent. So she's like, she's not OD stressed about it. She's just probably like, why won't you follow in my footsteps? Look at how much it's benefited you guys and us. Why wouldn't you follow in my footsteps? I think oftentimes parents just want us to follow in their footsteps because they think the way that they did things is so grand and great that they want us to follow in their footsteps, specifically when it comes to like religion and spirituality. But what I've learned is the important people, you explain your whys, and those who aren't as important, or those you feel like it's actually going to do more harm than good, you kind of just neglect it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's always worth having the conversation, but the people who are close to you, like if it's your parent or a close aunt or uncle or something, you have that conversation so they know where you're coming from and they don't think you're just, you know, doing harm to your child or for whatever the case is. Because I think sometimes they think we may be doing harm to children, and other times it's just they want us to do what they did. Knowing Haitian culture, they want you to follow in their footsteps, do it the way I did it. This is what works in our culture. This is what you do. That's not always the case. So I think it's important to just be true to yourself at the end of the day. As long as you're connected with the source, you're making decisions that align with that. Always making sure that you translate that and you're true to yourself and you're aligned with your spouse. Your family unit moves according to how you want to do things rather than how your parents did things.
At the end of the day, are you at peace with yourself, honestly? Because it's not worth following tradition if it's going to remove any kind of peace from you, in my opinion.
I agree 1,000%. And we're out. Thank you for spending your time with us. We hope you gained some knowledge today that'll promote poise in your life. We have new episodes uploaded every Thursday right here, same place, same time. Until next time, you can follow us on Instagram at NOIRPOISED Podcast to stay connected. That's NOIRPOISED Podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And remember, your wisdom is power.